Today we're going to be going over some common real estate clauses and what they mean. So, okay, let me pull it up right here. So this is a very common one. So let's read it together. The buyer agrees to pay the balance of the purchase price. So the offer price, the final price that you agree on, subject to adjustments. So adjustments will be made by lawyers. For example, let's say the seller paid the whole year property tax in advance, then you'll probably pay them some of that back, or vice versa. To the seller on the completion of this transaction. So the completion is the closing date that you choose. With funds drawn on a lawyer's trust account in the form of a bank draft, certified check, or wire transfer. So those are some of the major ways to transfer large values of money. For you as a buyer, you don't really have to worry too much about the details of that. Basically, you just need to make sure the money's in your checking account on closing date, and you just talk to your lawyer, and they'll help you with this and the adjustments and everything. And don't worry, the adjustments are always fair. The lawyers will talk to each other, and they're usually not too significant. It's, for example, let's say the seller paid utilities, 2 months in advance, then you'll pay them that because you'll be living there instead of the seller. So in some conditions, we use how many business or banking days after certain like acceptance of this offer. So just to make it clear, it's Saturday, Sunday, and statutory holiday. Finance condition. This is a big one, and most offers should have this. This offer is conditional upon the buyer arranging at the buyer's own expense a new first charge or mortgage, satisfactory to the buyer in the buyer's sole and absolute discretion. So unless the buyer gives notice in writing delivered to the seller, no longer than 11:59 within 5 business days, that's usually going to be a week, unless you're on a holiday um, week of the acceptance of this offer, that this condition is fulfilled, this offer shall be null and void, and deposit shall be returned to the buyer in full without deduction. This condition is included for the benefit of the buyer and may be waived at the buyer's sole option by notice in writing to seller within the time period stated herein. So within the time period is basically within 1 week of the acceptance of the offer by the seller or the last party. If they were to counter offer, it will be your acceptance of their counter offer. Okay, whenever that is. Anyways, basically the buyer can back out for almost any reason pretty much because it's at their sole and absolute discretion. So the buyer can even say, oh, the interest rate's too high. Um, so it really protects the buyer um, to back out and get their deposit back. And they no longer have the legal obligation to purchase the property because this offer is now null and void. Vacant possession. So basically, this one says the seller agrees to leave the property, remove their personal property, except for what shadows they say they were going to include in the property, and they also agreed to leave it in pretty much not five-star hotel condition, but broom swept condition. And the buyer has the right to visit the property 2 more times at a mutually agreed time, and they agreed to provide access, not be difficult about it. This is a standard one. Electronic signatures. Basically, every real estate transaction, maybe 99% is using electronic signature now, but this is just a clause saying that all parties agree to use electronic signatures to make it easier. Kitech plumbing is bad. You guys can Google that. That's not good. So we're just going to make sure if we write it here. If they didn't tell us that there was Kitech plumbing, they got to tell us right now. And if we find Kitech plumbing later, um, before closing, there could be things with this clause. It'll protect you from it. Basically, it's saying that things are included in the property, including mechanical, plumbing, electrical, everything should be in good working order. So if there's anything that's basically not expected to be in good working order, they'll tell us at this point, and they'll say, hey, sorry, the plumbing's actually not working, and we're selling it as is, so delete the plumbing. But they might add something, say plumbing as is. So keys, make sure you have access to every door, access cards that you should have access to. And those are some of the common conditions. There's also conditions that are similar to finance condition. There's also home inspection condition and status certificate condition. Those are the other big ones. And review of the contract by a lawyer condition. But basically, it's written the same way. But except it'll say conditional upon the buyer, being satisfied with a home inspection, and then the other one will be satisfied with the status certificate and so on. It'll be the same wording otherwise. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video of common real estate conditions. I took this from over 10 offers from different properties I've sold and compiled. These are my favorite ones, and I also use the standard forms from my brokerage, and this seems to cover all the issues while still making the offer seem quite attractive by not putting extra conditions. And just heads up, basically everything here benefits the buyer. Meanwhile, this benefits the seller. It just says that we'll pay, and that's always on the top of Schedule A. Okay, well, I hope you learned something from this video about real estate conditions.